afternoon. This is Anna T. Bellum for Abolition News Network, March 15, 1865. Today we have President Lincoln here who responded to the politician Thurlow Weed's commendation of his second inaugural address that he gave on March 4th. He said that men are not flattered by being shown that there has been a difference between the Almighty and them. We have him here today to clarify his statement to the viewers on what this brilliant address was even about. Welcome, President Lincoln. President Lincoln, your speeches have had a reputation for being quite eloquent. The most often response to your rhetoric has been a feeling of awe. Already some say you are America's greatest politician orator. Could you give us an outline of what you use when speaking to the public?
Well, Ms. Bellum, I am very flattered. As every speech addresses a different audience at a different time, like the Gettysburg Address, I think I will limit or stay with my second inaugural address, which was just a couple of weeks ago. It was the second shortest second inaugural address ever, only 701 words. George Washington's was, in fact, the shortest, at only 135 words.
So what is really different about your speeches?
A feature which sets the second inaugural address apart is my use of biblical language. I mention God 14 times in different ways. I quote from the Bible 4 times in the 3rd and the 4th paragraphs. And I have 3 references to prayer.
Wow. So what else is unusual?
Well, I use the word war 9 times in 99 words in the 2nd paragraph. That was to expand the hearer's consciousness of it.
Wow, that's amazing. So was that all leading up to something?
In fact, it was. I ended the 2nd paragraph with the phrase, "Then the war came." War is now the subject. Now I was getting ready to make a new point. The generals and soldiers were no longer in command of the war. They were not in control, as I followed in the 3rd paragraph. Neither anticipated the cause, and neither expected the war. Each looked for an easier triumph.
So they're very well chosen words then.
Maybe so. But now in the 3rd paragraph, I spoke of prayer and how it was both used and misused by both parties.
Interesting. Could you please explain that?
Well, I pointed out that both sides read from the same Bible. They both prayed to the same God, and each invoked his aid against the other. Ms. Bellum, God is not going to be on both sides of the same conflict. I've said this before, and now I use a passage from the Bible in the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 3, verse 19 says, "In the sweat of thy face thou shalt eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return." I did this to speak of the whites in the South who claimed that God was on their side, even as they ate what was produced and harvested by their slaves.
Wow, well, it seems like you've thought of everything. Is that all?
Not quite. Here in the 3rd paragraph, I stated suddenly, the Almighty has his own purposes. This is the central theme of this address. The theme he gives to both sides this terrible war. This I give here as the meaning of this war, the purpose of God. Now, if you'll allow me, I'd like to read from the book of Psalms with a line from chapter 19. Verse 9 says, The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether.
So, then do you know by chance how long the war will last?
Until every drop of blood drawn by the whip is repaid by another drawn by the sword.
Wow, that's unbelievable. You've said it all, except you were going to explain your response to that politician about the difference between the Almighty and man.
Yes, quite right. To deny it in this case is to in fact deny that there is a God governing the world.
Quite a major point. Now let's get to the last paragraph of your speech. What exactly were you asking?
The last paragraph is a plea to live into the future in reconciliation for all of us. When I said to bind up the nation's wounds, etc., you know what? I'm going to read it. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and a lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your words will be on monuments that will last forever. This is Anna T. Bellum for ANN saying good afternoon.